And yeah, I poked my head up there and they're like, yeah, no, I'm not going up there because there's no, it's this tall. You're like, I can't find where I'm going to fall through the ceiling. Absolutely not.
And then you have to go, I like Google like, how much weight can a truss hold? And then everyone's like, it just depends. Like, all right.
There's only one way to find out. You're going to.
That's why I was like, Anna, I'm going to need your help running wire in the ceiling. You're only slightly over 100 pounds. So.
And then your next Google search is how to patch a ceiling.
Welcome to the podcast, everybody. This week we're starting our creator series where we're going to be interviewing other smart home YouTubers because, well, I'm sure by now you're sick of hearing about our homes, and quite frankly, these guys are all smarter than me, so I think we're all going to learn something. Today we're talking to Ryan. He has the This Smart House YouTube channel. He's going to talk about how he uses Home Assistant, how he was able to get a 32-inch touchscreen into his kitchen, which is kind of remarkable. Plus, we're going to have some smart home news from Homey Pro, Hubitat, and Home Assistant. But first, a word from our amazing sponsor, Zeus. As our longtime listeners know, Zeus is the only name you need to know when it comes to Z-Wave devices. They have a large catalog of sensors, switches, buttons, relays, and so much more, all at great prices. They're leaders in bringing the power of Z-Wave long range into our homes, and they have detailed, easy-to-understand instructions for all of their products, which you know is not the norm these days for a lot of smart home companies, and it's something that I really appreciate. I also appreciate their 1-year warranty on all of their products, and you can extend that to up to 5 years if you register the product within 30 days of purchase. Who else does that? Give Zeus a shot, and I promise you're going to become a fan just like I am. As always, you can find the best Zeus deals at thesmartesthouse.com. Now let's get on with the show. All right, we got a special guest on the show, but first, Brandon is always with us. Brandon, how you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. How about yourself there, Pete?
I am super duper. And Vince, how are you?
Brandon is always with us. I just can't shake him.
Right, he's always
He tries.
He's with us here. Even when he's not with us there, he's always with us in our hearts. But you know who's not always with us?
And in your text messages.
And text messages.
Yes.
About
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Do not.
Lock video is going to come out.
Don't give Brandon your phone number because you're going to get texts. You're going to get texts.
I'm a salesperson, okay?
Yes. I'm well aware. I'm well aware of your sales techniques. Yeah. So Brandon is always with us, but who's not always with us? And that is our guest today. We've got Ryan from This Smart House. Thanks for joining us, Ryan.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Is that like This Old House? But it's
yes, that's exactly where that came from.
I thought it was, and
I used to watch
really
it with my.
That's true.
I watched it with my dad, and then that's what kind of was like, that's a good idea for a name of. And somebody at Corsica people have already had that same idea too. So.
Yeah. So Ryan, we're excited to have you here with us. How long have you been doing the YouTube thing?
Since about 2020, so now 4-ish
You're
years.
one of those pandemic YouTubers, huh?
Yeah. Well, I technically started the channel, uploaded my first video before then, but then it was like a year, like 13 months before my first video to my second video. So I didn't really start taking it more seriously until the pandemic because everybody had more time. I actually read a Gary Vee's book, and it was like, oh yeah, like find something that you like wasn't happy at work, find something that you're passionate about, and then just document your learning journey and document kind of, so I was like, okay, YouTube sounds pretty easy. I've done video editing before. I've done all that stuff. So let's give it a shot. And so,
That's one thing I tell people is YouTube is super easy. That's the thing. Like it's like free money, basically.
Yeah. As long as you're willing to continue to slug through, even with nobody watching your stuff and taking hours and hours to edit videos. I mean, that's the part that sucks is like, yeah, but it's fun and it's something to do. And, it replaced my social life. So whatever.
Yeah. Who needs that? Who needs that? But we did meet you. You were at CES last year. That's where we met.
Yep.
Just
at
about a year ago.
Booth. Yep.
And then I quickly lost your phone number. But we reconnected this year and hung out a little bit at the show. So you have a social life with us now. Like you lost all your real friends.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Now you get to hang out with us, which is good for us. So we did on last week's show. We talked quite a bit about CES, but I would just like to hear some of your thoughts about the show, some of the cool things that you saw, and what you're seeing for 2025.
Yeah, so I spent most of my time, obviously, over in the Venetian doing the smart home stuff. Yeah, I kind of picked up some trends of what I'm kind of seeing coming down the pike from these different manufacturers. And obviously the multi-use robots is one of them. I think you guys talked about it. The armed, robots that have arms on them, or, a robot vac that's also a stand-up vac and whatever. So like that, I think that makes a lot of sense. The guys at Yarbo, they've been doing that with their outdoor stuff. So it's cool to kind of see like, oh yeah, you buy this one thing and it can do more than one thing. That seems to be, it's coming as a trend there. I also, my day job, I deal with off-grid power stuff, so I'm seeing a lot more batteries. That's, so last year a lot of companies had their, charging solutions for the home, and this year even more folks had it. And Jackery had a ton of stuff showing off that stuff. So that's I think a big thing coming up. People, especially with natural disasters, it's like, okay, I can buy some lithium batteries, and then I can keep my house running for a couple of days without having to buy a propane generator or putting in solar. So
which one would you recommend?
Depends on where you live. I don't work in residential, so this is just my gut feeling. But solar makes sense. But where I live, power is extremely cheap, right? If you go to the most aggressive power plan overnight, it's 3 cents a kilowatt hour, so it's almost free. But battery technology to me seems like the best bet, because you can store. So even if you don't do solar, you can charge your batteries at night and then run them during your peak time and do what they call power arbitrage, and actually keep your bills super low. You're not going to have $0 bills, but you're going to keep them much cheaper, and then you don't have to worry about panels that you have to replace every 10 years or whatever.
Yeah, so somewhere in a place like Arizona, that makes a lot more sense to do something like that, right? Because they have, with the air conditioning and the different fluctuations.
Yeah, anywhere you have big fluctuations in power, or big power demands where you're going to get hit, or you don't have net metering is not an option where you're at. I mean, that's why the batteries kind of make sense, because you don't have to then worry about the power company going, hey, we're not going to do net metering anymore. We're not going to pay you for any power you put back on the grid, which is what solar is all based off of.
Yeah, I've heard that that's probably going to happen, where they're going to stop paying for people's solar panels to put power back in the grid. Like, it's yours. We don't need it. So
it creates problems, and we don't need to get into the how and the why, but there's definitely the grid is one of those massive things that work only because everybody follows the rules, and I think when you introduce a bunch of power at wrong times, you can destabilize things. So
sure,
it makes sense why they're doing it.
Do you know anything about wireless charging? Do you think that PowerCast has some technology? Do you feel like that's going to expand to be with more devices and be more readily available?
I mean, I think so. I mean, we saw what happened with Qi when Apple finally decided to adopt wireless charging. I'm an Android guy, so I've had wireless charging for a long time now. But once Apple started doing it and everybody started doing it, then it's becoming more ubiquitous. And I have wireless chargers all over my house, and for phones, my earbuds and all that good stuff. I mean, I think more devices will start adopting it because it's easier. I did see the booth that was the Wireless Consortium, where they were doing the wireless appliances, and that was pretty cool, I thought. Again, it's a cost thing though. Are you going to replace your countertop? Are you going to replace your range? You're going to replace all this stuff just to have more expensive devices? It's probably not. I mean, it's more of a high-end house thing, I think. But it's exciting to see the technology.
I can't imagine the efficiency of that is great either. There's got to be a loss.
There's definitely losses there. It's not a really bad. I mean, it's not terrible, but yeah. I mean, you see, with you're charging your phone, it gets hotter. It depends on the distance, how good the coupling is. So
did you get out to the big show, the convention center at all? See
a little bit, yeah. I hung out mostly in North Hall because that's where the power stuff was. So I was picking up some information for my day job, and I did go through Central for a little bit, and I went through Samsung's booth, which was quite impressive. But just like all these booths, you never have anybody you can actually ask questions to at those big booths, because most of them are hired. They're actors, or they hire them in to come in and just keep people corralled. So.
It used to be booth babes until Outlander. Yeah, they got rid of that though. So now it's just random people.
Now it's just random people. I actually talked to somebody last year at the Ecovacs booth, and he was an actor in Vegas, and they brought him in, and they gave him the script and talked through all the stuff, and then it was like, okay, so he knows quite a bit, but it's not somebody I'm going to go ask the real technical questions, and they're like, huh, what?
So, although
that's true at a lot of the booths, to be honest. It's stump the representative. Yeah, like, okay, can you bring someone over here that really knows what they're talking about?
Yeah, I hung out at the Shelly booth for a little bit and ended up talking to their COO, and he was a big nerd like I was, and so we were just talking through. And I think it's going to end up being on there. They had one of their camera guys recording for their own stuff. So, the camera guy's like, "Hey, thanks for keeping the conversation going." I'm like, we were just nerding out, man. We didn't do that. Wasn't intentional at all.
Yeah,
they've got some talkers over there. So if you've got the time, Doug will keep talking to you.
Yeah, he will.
Yeah, you got to be a special brand of nerd to go to the Shelly booth and understand what that's all about. Because we went there as a group, and some of you guys are like, "Oh, look at all these!" And I'm like, they're small little module things. I'm like, I don't know what these things do. I'd have to have a deep dive on that. But
lots of, I mean, and that was the other one of the trends I've seen is like people are combining stuff. You know, like a car has cameras at her hubs, but like with Shelly, a lot of their stuff is already hidden behind the wall. So it's like, yeah, you don't have to replace something or make something look different. It's still smart. So that's kind of cool what their stuff does. But yeah, it is not consumer friendly in that case because people are like, what do I do with this?
Right. Well, that's like, okay, I understand what a relay does, but like they have like, 15 relays. I don't, I'm like, why? What's the difference? So
PM and like the two, there's just all these different names you don't necessarily understand.
PM means power. The PM's power monitoring.
Power monitoring, yeah.
Some are power monitoring. Some are higher current relay. Sorry, I'm an electrical engineer, so yeah, that's right in my wheelhouse.
Can you make me a spreadsheet, please, with all what each of them do?
Sure.
Because their website does a terrible job.
Hey, this.
I'll call Doug up. Maybe I can do a video for them.
I think they would be very interested in that, to be honest. Like they are ready to invest and they want to spread the good word in the US. So
it's awesome. Yeah, it definitely, like, that's one of the things I hate, like three-way switches and multi-way switches in a house. Mm-hmm. They've got a pretty good solution for that like gives you some flexibility. And I was like, okay, yeah, let's do that. I want to put in those everywhere. I have the only like 2 switches that I have that aren't smart are multi-way switches. So
my whole house is 3-way. I have 2. Here's how bad my 3-way switches are. I have 2 3-way switches that I can literally touch at the same time. Like I could. I'm like, I don't think we need this. Why are these 3-way switches?
Just use it one for something else.
Switches are the bane of
my existence. Smart switch. Use it for something else.
Power.
Yes, man. That's like, yeah. So many switches.
I feel like the relay thing is really just starting to come to the U.S. versus where it's been super popular in Europe for quite a while. But I even think I saw SwitchBot came out with a relay now. So
yeah, I think they did. Yep.
I think it's coming here a little bit as people get a little more educated on what it's for and what they can, what some use case scenarios are.
I mean, it makes sense, but then you have to understand how your house's wiring works, and people go, I don't have any idea what the hell that is. So.
Are you saying that they're not electrical engineers?
Yes, I'm saying that electricity is magic to most folks.
Yeah, but I'm also of the mindset that if you don't understand it, you shouldn't be touching it. Like, this is how fires happen.
Yeah. True. Electricity is not something to mess with.
I mean, 110's okay. Just, don't touch the 220.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. 110 will feel funny. 220 will kill you, and 480 will blow you across the room.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah. Isn't that kind of a thing in Europe too? Everything's 220, like even their switches and stuff.
In the UK, everything is.
UK, okay.
Everything is I think it's 220, 240. I'm not sure what. Yeah. Everything there is higher in 50 hertz. So
they have a bigger deaths due to electricity there.
No, actually they don't, because their systems are designed. Their plug is actually the safest plug. I don't want to bore the audience on that. Like us. Everybody, like the UK plug is massive, but they talk about how smart and it's well engineered. But yeah, it's this big, and Americans will be like, no, too big.
That's true.
True. So anything else you want to talk on a CES? Otherwise,
yeah, there was a lot of other cool stuff in there. I got to see some of the hover drone. So I'm a drone guy. Actually, I'm waiting here. Hopefully in the next hour, my new DJI drone shows up at the doorstep. So I bought.
Did you get a review unit, or did you have to buy it?
Oh, I bought it. I'm not that cool yet. I want to be, but I should. I have enough DJI stuff that I should, because I mean, my God, I have thousands of dollars in DJI stuff.
I have the Inspire too. I still have that.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's a nice. Wow, look at you, the fancy drone. Wow.
I
had the Inspire 1, but my brother has it now.
I wanted a drone. I don't know what I'd use it for, but I want one. It seems like a fun thing to have.
I now have a little fleet of them. I think about 5 after today.
And what do you do with them?
I use them mostly. So I've done a variety of stuff. Like I actually have my Mavic 2 Pro over here. I've used it for product testing before. I actually slapped a Yolink temperature thing, flew it out a quarter of a mile to actually verify that you get a quarter mile range with it. And so I did that as part of when testing. I've actually tested some products for companies I've worked for, done mapping with drones. So like, gone out and done a grid map and stuff with it. And then mostly now I use them for YouTube stuff. So, and for fun.
So the Hover, I don't know if you guys saw the Hover Air. If you've heard of the Hover Air, they had a little booth at the Venetian, but that's pretty cool.
That's pretty neat.
So it just follows you around, right? Like so I was like, for doing the stuff in my house, I could like, instead of having set the camera, I could like walk around and be like, here's this thing. And then I walk the other thing and show them that. And then it would just follow me
Just
around.
follow
and
you
do-
around.
Whatever
That's-
happened to the Ring drone?
I know. I saw that at one of some security conference I was at in Vegas like 6 years ago, and I was like, "Oh, that's so cool!" And it never came out. It's gonna come out next year. Never came out.
No. I think
Who
most of
had
it-
One
the-
year they had it like at CES, and it was
Yeah.
in its own little booth, and you couldn't go in there. And then while I was watching, it just like fell out of the air. I'm like, well, that wasn't very impressive.
Who
I'm
who
actually
had the
surprised that there hasn't been more products relating to drones for just even like outdoor security, where it would fly out of the
Yeah, there
out of
was.
the box.
Alarm.com, man.
Who had that? Was it Alarm.com? Yeah. What was it?
Alarm.com.
Like 80
It
grand
was
or
like
something?
50,000 a year to operate it, though.
Yeah, there
But
was.
it did go into a little docking station and
Mm-hmm.
recharge, so that's kind of neat.
The DJI has they have a version of that has the dock, where it'll open it, and then I can't remember the name of it. It's one of the precursors for their fly carts. But yeah, there's a couple companies at one of these security conferences I went to where they had it was a drone as a service where you buy the little pad. And they have it does a little autonomous sweep, and if you have 3 of them, they can do 24/7 coverage of so much of acreage. It was like, hey, that's really cool, but nothing's ever come of those. I think because it's too expensive. It's cheaper to hire a person to walk around.
Are they weaponized though? Like, do they have little missiles on them?
Oh,
I've seen those too. Like someone comes in your yard and you have like little paintball guns that automatically shoot them. Oh yeah,
that was in South Africa. I think.
yeah. I don't know if we can get away with it here, but
Yeah, I don't think so. I think we have laws against that.
Depending on your state, I suppose.
Well, all right, cool. So before I want to, Ryan, we're gonna get a deep dive into your life in the smart home, but I do have a little bit of smart home news that I want to talk about today. Some things that weren't at CES, maybe they were at CES and I missed them, but 3 of the top hubs each had some releases in the last month. I just want to go over those and get you guys' thoughts. We'll start with. Let's start with Home Assistant, just because Ryan is a Home Assistant guy, as we'll talk about. So they just came out with their voice assistant.
What is like Vince chop liver to you? Man?
yeah, what the heck?
Vince too. You're kind of a transitional guy. You're not the guest. Nobody cares about you, Vince. We have a special guest. We treat them special.
I've got the voice.
Yeah.
Over. Yeah. Here, let me go grab it.
So tell us a little. Is it everything it's cracked up to be, or are we?
He's gonna do show and tell. You gotta wait.
It's out.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
can
have
cut that
to
out.
edit
Sorry,
this.
that's my.
God
bad.
dang it! That's more work for me.
Yeah. So I've got it. I haven't. So this is why I literally 30 minutes ago asked a question about ESP32 devices and Unify, and because I can't get it to connect to ESP Home. So yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It's an issue between Unify devices and ESP32 devices, and it's very annoying and doesn't happen to everybody. But yeah, it's a well-made little product. I like the design on it.
So
They did a good
I
job.
know it's just a preview edition. It's got some bugs in it for sure, and it's not for a full-scale launch yet. But overall, the idea, I mean, it's local voice assistant, right? And
Local or cloud. Yep. You can do either one. If you want to run your own local LLM, you can do that, which requires lots of hardware. Or you can utilize. I think it comes with the Nabucasa service. They have a cloud-based one that you can utilize as well. So I just read the documents last night trying to set this up. I'm like, I better set this up to see. It showed up literally the day before CES. I left for CES.
Oh, really?
So I'm like, I was like, I haven't had a chance to play with it. So I tried to set it up last night and ran into a whole host of issues with it's my network's fault, not the device's fault.
cool. So yeah,
I think it came out about what, like 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah, it came out right after Christmas, I think.
Yeah.
Yep. So they've been talking about voice for a lot. In fact, 2023 was the year of the voice, I think, is what they said.
Yep.
So now they've got an actual product out. So for Home Assistant users, that is pretty exciting news. Let's jump over to Hubitat now. Hubitat Elevation just released a new update with a new user interface. I'll put some screenshots up so you can see it. So it's just a total refresh of the user interface, so it doesn't look like it was done by some high school kid in the 90s, which is nice, which is good. So definitely,
or an engineer, because that's always what I always joke about that. I'm like, engineer, it's very much, it's gray. It just has buttons. Like, okay, it works. We're done.
Yeah, it was awful, and now it's a little less awful. So that's good.
So now that you've left the company, they're listening to the advice that you gave them? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it only took 5 years. So
I'm sure there were several thousands of people saying, giving feedback about the UI.
It's interesting. It's because, a lot of their customers are engineers, right? And so some of them, for whatever reason, don't hate that, but they should. But the problem is you're not going to expand. You're never going to get outside of that very tight narrow window of people that for some reason don't hate that. So
you know why they added the A to STEM, right? Made it STEAM, is because if you don't have art, then you get the Cybertruck. That's what. So if you don't have graphics designers and artists, you get the Cybertruck, which
Beautiful.
it's definitely noticeable. You definitely see it coming.
It's definitely a thing, right? There was quite a few of those in Vegas as well. I was surprised about the number of Vegas, but yeah, it makes
And
complete
none of
sense.
them blew up while we were there, so that was good too.
That happened
So
the week
they're all-
before.
I saw the picture of the Yarbo Cybertruck outside of Trump Hotel. They took a picture at CES.
Wait, Yarbo had a Cybertruck?
Yeah, I guess.
I'll have to find that. That's
You gotta look it up. And it was parked right in front of Trump Hotel. So I don't know if they were trying to...
Too soon? Too
yeah,
soon?
maybe a little too soon.
Wow. But yeah, so I'm glad. So there's still work to be done with Hubitat as far as the user interface goes. They've got a lot of the bigger picture stuff done, but I think they got to go into the apps now and continue to dive deeper and continue to refresh that. But I'm glad they're taking this step. So that's good for them and good for the users, and it doesn't hurt any of the usability that you guys engineers are so concerned about. So it's everything about it is better than what it was. So good job there, Hubitat. And then the last one I want to mention here for the news is Homey Pro came out. Well, I think we talked about their dashboard one time. They have a new dashboard, which is awesome. Definitely check that out. And they just introduced the Homey Pro Mini, which is a $200 Homey Pro, which is half the price. And I think that's great. The regular Homey Pro is $400. I think it's been on sale for $350. But that's one of the biggest barriers for people is the price. So if they can get a mini version that's more along the lines of what you would pay to get into Hubitat or Home Assistant or SmartThings, I think it's great. It does not have a Z-Wave radio like the big one does. It limits you to the number of apps you can have, I think to 15 or 20, something like that. So for serious users, they're still going to stick with the large Homey Pro. But for the average user, this is probably a great solution that can get them into the Homey Pro at a reasonable price, and they can experience a beautiful interface that's easy to use and fun and glorious. So,
The
so I think
interface does look nice.
And they have more stuff coming. We talked to the founder at CES. So
yeah, that
more
was
stuff on the docket.
fun. We hung out with him for probably an hour at the. Interesting, it was in the Z-Wave Alliance booth.
It was in the Z-Wave Alliance booth. Yeah.
But yeah, they do have some fun ideas coming down the pipe, and they clearly are not they're sticking with it. I know there was a lot of concerns that with the purchase by LG that they were gonna, just be morphed into smart things. But they're, as far as I can tell, they're very committed to their product and keeping going with where they're headed. So that was very reassuring to me.
You'll be able to use Homey to navigate your yacht.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's that.
You know what?
That's the pressing question.
You may have to go with SmartThings for that.
Ugh.
Did you see that, Ryan? The yacht,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was at the keynote and I was like, oh, okay, that's an odd choice. It's like we're like very specific thing. Like there has to be a business reason for that, because I'm like, okay,
Do they even understand their own products?
Yeah, I don't.
It just make it appear that it would solve everything in the world, and it's like you barely even support this anymore.
If they did everything they said they do in the booth, SmartThings would be it. You wouldn't
need anything else. Yeah,
it'd be the best in the world. But
I want to use it because I've got Samsung everything. I'm a Samsung phone guy. I've got tablets. I've got the earbud. But no, I'm just not going to do it. No.
They just they at the end of the year here, they just news-wise announced they were changing their personal access token access for Home Assistant to 24 hours. So they're trying to do a workaround, but you basically can't connect SmartThings to Home Assistant anymore for more than 24 hours at a time, and you have to reconnect it.
I'm sure somebody will probably build
some sort of.
They're gonna do an authorization 2 or whatever that
OAuth
is
2.
called.
Yeah, that's that whole every move into OAuth 2 made it a pain. I've been I'm not a dev, but man, I've been having to learn a whole bunch about that. I'm like, this is so annoying. It's secure, great, awesome, but I just want this thing to talk to this thing. Why do I have to go, get a degree?
But they plan a little better in advance, hey, this is going to be happening, so we can figure this out. So there's a pretty seamless transition. It made me ready to dump SmartThings altogether here. Still have about 100 devices on there.
Stuff.
The second time my hub crashed and I lost all my Z-Wave devices, and I'm like, this thing's done for me.
It's dead to me.
Which hub are you using at the time? Which SmartThings?
The 2, I think, is what it is.
Okay. So it was a SmartThings build, not the AOTech one they're selling.
Yeah, it was SmartThings. It was SmartThings branded.
Okay. So now that we're talking about your home and your smart things and stuff, one of the reasons we're starting this series, and we're bringing on a bunch of creators here, we're going to be interviewing them about their smart homes, is that you guys have all heard enough about our houses and our philosophies. So we want to branch out a little bit and get other people's thoughts and opinions on what they do in their smart homes, how their smart home philosophy, and introduce you to channels that you can maybe learn some things more than from me. Shocking that there's other things to learn. Yeah. So Ryan is with us, and Ryan, why don't you just tell us? You told us earlier about how you got into the YouTube thing, but how did you get into smart homes?
Smart. So I started, and I could jokingly say, like, I started back in X10, so old enough that
Dang, you're old.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, whatever. I started back with X10. I played around with that when I got my first, my wife and I got married, got first apartment, then moved into our first house, and I started kind of setting stuff up. I've been doing Z-Wave for probably 15 years now, but I had like a Z-Wave stick in the back of my Windows media server running a software called M Control. That was, it was dated. So went to that, and then went to Vera, then went to Smart Things, and then got fed up with Smart Things and went to Home Assistant. So kind of built my own server and did it all on a Raspberry Pi and all that other stuff. So I like connecting all my stuff together. I like automation is a passion of mine, not just home automation. So like I also do a bunch of cloud-based automation stuff. I have this overly complicated system where like I have one of these like digital notepad things, the e-ink notepad things, and I wrote a program that basically lets me automatically take them, convert them to PDFs, and then click a button and send each of those images to OpenAI to return my handwriting. So then it puts it in Notion, like super overly complicated for what it does, but like that kind of stuff that makes me happy to make things just one click and it just does it. So.
Yeah. So your background, then you have you're an electrical engineer, as you said. So this stuff kind of comes naturally to you.
Yeah. So I've worked in either IT or electrical engineering for too many years. So either been doing on the electrical engineering side, controls automation, or on the IT infrastructure side. So yeah, I've been a big nerd since way back when. I had a GeoCities page and all kinds of stuff. So yeah,
GeoCities, nice.
So we've established you're a bit of a nerd.
Yes, I am. I would. The joke was we took a test at work one time, like one of those online quizzes where you say how much of a nerd you are, and like I got 97 out of 100. It was Nerd God. That's where that title followed me around for a little bit because like Uber Nerd, Nerd God, whatever you want to call it. So yes.
Well, what is your favorite automation then that you've done?
It's always the easy, simple ones. So like I love it when you walk into a room and lights come on. Like my favorite one is the bathroom upstairs, right? The one next to our bedroom. So you walk into it, if it's after a certain time, the light comes on to 1%, so you don't get blinded. When you walk out, the lights turn off automatically, So I walk downstairs and I've got a car presence sensors in my basement. And so when you walk up to the bar in the basement, all those lights go from low to bright. And then as soon as you walk away, they go down, even in the same room, right? So it just feels it feels like very Star Trek when you get to walk up to something and it just comes alive and you're like, okay, cool. I don't have to touch any buttons. I don't have to say any voice commands. I wish the rest of my house worked as well as some of those do. So
yeah, you just tell them it's magic.
Yeah, it's magic.
Which
wife gets
sensor?
The Aqara FP2.
Okay, so has that been performing pretty well for you?
It performs pretty well. It's I'm using the HomeKit integration, so that exposes, so you go to the Aqara app and you can set up your room, and for the most part, as long as people don't touch the sensors, it works pretty well. It'll keep it pretty good. There's occasionally you'll get false positives and whatever.
Yeah, mine has a harder. It's pretty good. I mean, for the most part, it works, but it always turns on. Mm-hmm. It always turns on. It's just turning off. Sometimes it struggles. It feels like there's someone still there when they're.
You have to things can produce interference. Yeah. Oh yeah, or like electrical interference. If you have wireless chargers, those can create enough interference to cause it. So you got to really go back in the app and say this is an interference zone, and you got to tune it, which is really annoying. But when it works, it's pretty cool.
I picked up a couple of those everything present sensors from that influencer. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but those work really good too.
I've heard. Yeah, I think his dad's a double E as well. So I think that's where he said he and his dad designed it.
Ooh, a double.
They also have the Bluetooth proxies built into them. Let me tell you, though, those are the best things ever. If you've never set up Bluetooth proxies on Home Assistant, but
yeah, I've got Bluetooth proxies all over the house.
What was your first device? Like like you said, you started an X10, but like what was the very first device that you ever got where you're like, oh, maybe I'll start doing more with this stuff?
I mean, it was usually light switches, right? That's what everybody did. So it was like, oh, I got to turn my outside lights would turn on and off automatically. So just time-based automations was kind of the easy stuff, and then you started tying things together is where the beauty of it, and that's why I stick with Home Assistant, because the community is big enough that somebody's going to write an integration for something. So. Like, I'm actually working on an integration right now for myself only, really. My son has a smartwatch from Gab, and I was like, I want the location information, I want the battery information, so when he doesn't plug it in at night, I can go, it'll text me, and I can say, hey, go plug in your watch, because he forgets all the time. Like, that kind of stuff, that's why I like doing it, is like, oh, I want to take this thing and make it, I don't have to remember it anymore.
Yeah, so you're all in bed with Home Assistant at this point, right? Yeah, I have a bunch of systems. Home Assistant is, I know it's powerful. I know it's great for those who know what they're doing. It's my least favorite of them all.
And I get that, totally get that. And that's one of the challenges too. Is like people all the time, the biggest question that goes, how can I make this and this talk? You're like, well, since they're in two different ecosystems, you can't unless you're using Home Assistant or Homey or some other third-party service that can tie them together. And then people get so mad. That's why like Matter is great once it can support everything, but it's still its infancy right now.
Yes, it is. So what are most of your devices at this point? What protocol are they running on?
I've got everything. So most of my light switches are Z-Wave. I've got a lot of Zigbee devices as well. I've got Wi-Fi devices, and only a couple of Thread, and most devices now are Wi-Fi are moving to Matter. So like a lot of my Govee lights, like not these ones, but the newer Govee lights are all supporting Matter now as well. So, but it's still Wi-Fi. You still have to have good Wi-Fi to make that work.
You just get to run it locally, which is nice.
Yes, you get local control like on off, but then you have to, if you wanted to do anything fancy like I did with my Christmas lights this year, you have to set up like a third-party integration for Govee, so then you can like call those other changing the themes from Home Assistant. So. Which I did that this year.
Like that's a bit of an asterisk there that they don't really explain to the lay people.
No, and that's the problem. Like Matter only supports certain endpoints. So like on off. I had the little tiny cutesy SwitchBot vacuum. It exposes it as a switch. You're like, what? There's so much more information than on off. Like how the hell do I know if it's stuck? You get none of that. So like, well, that's kind of silly.
On, kind of.
Yeah, it'd be like
dimmer. It's like 70% on.
Yes, it's on, and that's one of the biggest challenges. Like with any automation you run into is, turning something on and off. Most devices don't have a state on, state off. It's a toggle. So it's like, how the hell do I know if a device is on? The only way to do that is by checking the power. So, like my projector downstairs, I've got a smart plug on it only so I can see when it turns on, and when that power goes up, it opens up. It brings down the screen and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I do that with my television as well to get the lights.
I was gonna say there's probably over half of my plugs that I use in my house have nothing to do with on off.
Yeah, they're just there for sensing. I wish somebody would make one that's just a plug-in that doesn't have a relay in it, so that you don't accidentally turn it off. That's what the Shelly PM2s, they have those, but you have to wire them in.
I feel like I wish there was a way too that, and you can kind of set the power reporting, but like I feel like it does send a lot. I feel like it's sending a lot of data. Maybe I'm setting them up wrong, but like, there's enough flux. I just feel like if I look at my logs, it's like I'm just constantly getting these messages, these power reporting messages. If there was a way to, I don't know, tone that out a little bit, but
yeah, it's probably just whatever its heartbeat rate is. It has every time it, especially if it's plugged in, it's going to transmit a lot more because it doesn't have to worry about batteries.
The irony,
if they got rid of the relay on it, they'd probably be able to make it a lot smaller.
Yeah, it would just run through like a little current transformer on the inside or something like that. Which it would be smaller and hopefully be cheaper. But I think most people would buy it and go, I can't turn it on and off. It's broken, and then inevitably, whatever. It's one of those things it's a very niche problem, and they're like, yeah, no, we don't need to do that.
It's kind of ironic because like we're using these devices to save, in a lot of cases, to save energy, but a lot of smart home devices are constantly communicating, thus using energy.
Yep.
It's like, well,
yep.
we've kind of gone the wrong way here.
Yeah. So you've got with the Home Assistant, have you completely gotten rid of your Smart Things hub? Do you have any other hubs? I'm sure you've got some bridges. What's like? Give us your full setup.
Okay, that would take a long time. Actually,
give us the partial setup.
I've tried to like map it out, whatever. So Home Assistant has a Z-Wave and a Zigbee stick on it. So running Z-Wave JS and Zigbee to MQTT. So all of my devices are on there. So I've got a lot, which I can hear. I've got these IKEA shades. I absolutely love those IKEA shades. They're super cheap, very cool for the price point. So, you know, so I've got a lot of Zigbee devices that I have to still communicate with. And then I have an Akara M2 hub just because it was sent to me and I did it so only the Akara devices are connected to it. And there's a few devices still connected on that one just for those. So I get the full capabilities of the Akara devices. And then, you know, I've obviously got Matter, and I have a couple of, I had to build my own thread border router.
Jeez.
Yeah. Well, build my own as in buy the thing and then flash it. Like, you know, so like I didn't have to build it, but couldn't find one that worked for what I needed to do with what I had it probably was a network issue again. And so then, you know,
I just use my Apple HomePod or whatever.
I tried to, but I didn't have the right version. I have an old one that I got from a previous company. So yeah, so that's the majority of that stuff communicates through there. I'm actually looking at my Home Assistant. Like my integrations page, you have to scroll quite a bit. So there's a lot of stuff on here. I have a lot of ESP32 devices like these. For a while there, I was doing the inside tracking with like these little Atom devices using different BLE trackers and stuff. But then I got too many Govee devices, and those crash because it sees too many devices and it goes out of memory. So anyway, and then I've got just everything else is integrated into. So like my 3D printer is integrated in, my Tesla's integrated in.
Hold on a sec. Why would you like automatically print 3D things all of a sudden? Like when you walk into a room, it's like I need a model of myself. It scans me, and every day I get a new model of me.
That's questions everybody asks. Why do you integrate it? Well, mostly for like you can do other things. It can react. So for example, if you wanted to put in lights, so like I have a Bamboo Labs printer, so it's got a little camera, right, and it does a time lapse. Well, sometimes that time lapse is kind of dark, so you could put in other lights to make it brighter. Instead of trying to control that with the Bamboo Labs device, you can plug it in with Home Assistant, and Home Assistant will just say, when you start to print, do this.
There we go.
You have to have, so like if you're doing like SLA printing, if you're not epoxy, where you expose it to light, right? Those are SLA printers. They require ventilation. So you could, when it starts to print, it would turn on your ventilation fan. So there's a lot of stuff like that where it's, I don't really,
Is it ABS? ABS, right?
No, ABS is printable on FDM, which FDM is what your standard printer, right? Hot glue.
No, I was wondering which one needed to be vented. I didn't know that until I started printing. And I was
yes, ABS needs to stay in an enclosure, and it does off gas.
It's getting headaches.
Stuff.
I was like, something's happening here.
Yeah. ABS will do that to you, and PLA will sometimes as well. I mean, mine's in my closet back here, and I've got a little particulate matter sensor in there, but it's just in there because it's out of the way, and I don't have to smell it. So. But yeah, it's so that kind of stuff, right? You integrate them because there's a reason you want your house to react to your TV. It turns on. I want to know that, or I can remotely control my TV from my Google Assistant. So even if Google Assistant doesn't support your TV manufacturer, if you integrate it through Home Assistant and then expose it that way, you can turn it on and off. Because my kids lose my remotes all the time, so I'm just like turn off all the TVs.
You've got a ton of automations here, and obviously you're going very deep into it. What are like some of your biggest frustrations you've ran into?
Well, right now
it's technical difficulties, if you will.
Technical difficulties, yeah, that's appropriate. Network, right? Like, I was complaining about my Wi-Fi earlier. Like, I have an enterprise grade network, and I still run into problems with not having things just stop working or whatever. Interference. One of the biggest irks I have is the fact that Zigbee is so popular, and it's on the same frequency as Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, and it's like, oh my God, that was a bane of my existence for 6 months until I finally got everything rearranged. So it's stuff like that. It's having various protocols that don't work together, and then you have to learn a whole bunch of junk to figure out how to make them work better together. I mean, like you have to have a degree sometimes to figure out some of this stuff, and it's not fair for the average person, to expect them to have to know all this stuff. So I get why it's still a niche thing.
How many devices do you think you have connected right now? Just a ballpark.
To my Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
154.
Very exact. I appreciate that. I figured you'd have an exact number for us, but
I've got my Unify console pulled up because I was debugging earlier, so that's why I know exactly what it is. So yeah, it's right there.
So Brandon, I've been to Brandon's house. I helped him run some wires through his house. He's wired Ethernet wires through his Cat 6, right? I want to get right about. Yes, he's got Cat 6 going to like every corner of his house, every room of his house, basically. Have you done that with your networking system?
Yeah, every access point's hardwired in. I use power over Ethernet for everything, so the access points don't have to have power. My house was relatively new when I moved. It was new when I moved in, so it had Cat 5e in the walls, which can actually take up. Yeah, 5e. So it can actually take. It can take up to. You can do 10 gigabit over it if you really wanted to do it. But 2.5 gig works great over there. So, and then when I did my basement, we did the basement a couple years ago. I did Cat 6 throughout the whole basement, mostly because for video transmission. So, I've got a video multiplexer downstairs, so it's 4 in, 4 out. So I can have my Xbox on the bar TV, the Nook TV, and the projector all at once, or even on this TV in here. So you can send it to multiple different locations. You can have any input on any output, which is pretty slick.
So did you do a DIY version of video distribution then?
No, I bought one.
Oh, okay.
Actually, it was a video, so I worked with a brand and they sent me the one I needed. So it was
even better. That's the best way.
Better. Yes, that's the best way.
Nice.
But then I had a buddy who did his basement. And he bought the same thing, so I was like, well, at least I feel like I contributed something.
I just got all my Unify stuff. I haven't installed yet.
You have what stuff?
I said I just got all of my Unify stuff. I haven't ran cables yet.
It's good. I love Unify. I have lots of Unify devices now. I've finally got rid of all the cheapy stuff that I put in between because I didn't want to buy the Unify device. Because Unify now has a good line of cheaper, less expensive stuff. So
do you have a one-story house?
What was
Ryan,
that?
do you have a one-story house?
No, I have a 2-story house with a full basement underneath as well. So it was a full unfinished basement. So we finished half the basement. The back half is still unfinished.
Because for me, the problem for me with running wires throughout the house is I have a 2-story house, and so I just don't have an easy way to run anything, right? And it's just like
running after the fact sucks. I mean, there's no good solution for it, and mesh Wi-Fi it's good for some people, but most people run into problems with mesh Wi-Fi. It's just not there yet. So always hardwiring is the best solution.
It's a mess.
It's a mess because you're using you're basically giving up an antenna in your Wi-Fi access point to then backhaul. So it just adds a lot of trouble to it. So
I also upgraded to Unify this year. I'm very pleased with that.
Yes, they've got and even their camera stuff. My neighbor across the street, he went through and he's got all the cameras on the outside, and he went crazy. But he doesn't have much problems with his. But he doesn't have as many devices as I do. So I'm sure.
Brennan inspired me. That's why. That's why we're all going that way. So Pete, you're the last one.
I tell him he's got to get a Sony camera, and he's still over there struggling.
Yes, it's cold out. To run wires from where the stuff is coming into my house, to run wires through the rest of the house, there's not a way to get it there without doing some serious damage.
It's got to be similar to my house. We could just do them together, and then we can learn.
You can go through your attic and come down the wall, and then do a penetration to the outside and bring it down the outside of your house. That's what the satellite providers always do. But I hate. Yeah. So
I was actually up I did run some power through the attic last month. I ran some. I don't ever want to go up there again, but it's possible. Yeah, I would
call me.
I know you wouldn't have come up there.
I would have. It's only fair. We'd have to make a video of it and
I try
get a bigger ladder.
I lost my camera at one point in the insulation. It fell down. Where'd it go?
Well, I just live there now.
But I did because I didn't know when it happened or where. That was the thing. I'm
Ryan, if you don't know, we have sprayed in, or sprayed in insulation, so it's like snow up at the basement or up in
That's what we have. We have too. Yeah, okay. We have. Yeah, we're this house has all the blown in insulation as well, and I had to go up there because we had a leak during a really heavy storm, and I poked my head up there and no, I'm not going up there because there's no, it's this tall. You're I can't find where I'm going to fall through the ceiling. Absolutely not.
And then you have to go. I Google how much weight can a truss hold. And then everyone's it just depends. All right.
There's only one way to find out. You're going to.
That's why I was Anna, I'm going to need your help running wire in the ceiling. You're slightly over 100 pounds. So.
And then your next Google search is how to patch a ceiling.
I did that, by the way. I did step through the drywall ceiling at my own time.
All right.
Not all, I caught myself before, so it just, poked through, and then I just pushed it back up, and then you
didn't go full Christmas vacation.
No, I did not go full Christmas vacation, so I did misstep though. But man, that's
thankfully most houses now when they're building them, they run Cat 5, Cat 6 anyway, and my house had a little structured cabling panel in the basement, and so it was just all terminated, and so I just did it myself. But you can there are some solutions, but it's going to create the industry is going to have to change the way they do things before people start actually doing it the right way.
It's always funny when they leave it unterminated, and then I'll go into houses and people are just using Wi-Fi and they just don't understand. I'm like, oh man, you could have just so easily used this existing wiring that's there. It's so much better.
It's so much better. I've cut back before and brought it into like a closet. Like, yeah, just I need to have it wired. It's a requirement, right? It's one of those things.
So you're Team Reolink for cameras, right? I think I saw that on your channel.
Well, I have everything. So I've got Reolink Wise and Eufy cams are the majority of the ones around the house. So really, it's mostly Eufy and a handful of Reolink as well. So probably half and half. I only use the Wise. The Wise is only for this is a first world YouTuber problem. I've got a dedicated camera that's watches my lawnmower location, my outdoor lawnmowers, just to make sure. And I just literally could just stick it on there. I'm like, I don't need this for anything else. I just threw one out there. I had a spare one, so it's
Vince,
that.
You need that. You're always rescuing your lawnmowers.
Well, it's more just to make sure that my lawnmowers don't get stolen. I know they're back. So
I only use the Wise cameras for my 3D printer because it didn't come with one, so that's the only thing I use it for.
Yeah, the Wise version 2s work great for that. My old my Creality printer, I've got one on each of my Creality printers. So yeah.
Nice. The other acceptable use case is to check in on pets.
Yeah.
Anything beyond that, though.
I have one in my twins' room, and that was the baby camera. That was what we were using it for mostly.
That's acceptable. We'll allow it.
There'd be a way. Okay, I struggle with my desk is a complete disaster, and it's a problem I have. I'm working on the ADHD, trying to solve some issues here. Okay, what I would like to have is a camera that just looks down at my desk, and then when I leave the office, if it's like there's crap on it, it would just like yell at me. It'd be like, you idiot, go clean your desk. So is there a way that I could set up a camera to do that? And then since this is what a clean desk looks like, and if it doesn't look like that, tell Pete he's a moron and to get his butt over there and put the stuff away.
Yeah, that'd be relatively easy. You could do that probably with Frigate. You could probably do that and have just object recognition and say, if it doesn't look like this, then complain. So
I got to get into this. This is good. See, I'm finding a way to spend 10, 20 hours to solve a problem if I just
that's the whole thing, right? That's I will spend 8 hours automating a 5-minute task.
Yeah, but then the time it's like when you buy solar, right? You get it back over 10 years.
Hopefully,
as long as you don't, because things go wrong and you change it.
Yep. That's all.
I'm getting pretty close to the break-even point on the solar, so that's exciting. But
nice.
Yeah, my neighbors are trying to convince me to get solar, and I'd like it, and my house would make sense for it too. But I'm just like, I'm not climbing up like. We have tall ceilings, and so when you stack 2 stories up and then the back's almost a walkout, I'm like, I had to rent a lift to put my outdoor lights up on the front of the house, and so I'm like, no, thank you.
Yeah, we saw that the Govee video you did with the stunning holiday light show. Did your neighbors appreciate it?
Yeah, the neighbors. I got some cute text messages from parents of kids, like sitting there looking out the window, waiting for sunset to happen to see what it was. So I created like a Grinch one that all the kids loved. I literally had people pull in front of my house and stop. And it's not like mine's like the synchronized whatever, but we put together some different ones. I had somebody put a little Christmas Vacation animation together. So on my big garage door, I had that one going. And so during the couple days lead up to Christmas, it changed every 10 minutes. I wrote a Home Assistant automation that basically said, it picked a random number and then it associated that with one of the presets, and it just kept changing to do a new preset every 10 minutes. So yeah, the neighborhood really liked it.
I didn't know that. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
You're using the BLE, like the Bluetooth proxy for that?
No, actually I'm actually using the Google Assistant SDK integration to do that.
Interesting. Okay.
So because you can set with cut me off if I'm getting too nerdy here, but like
I would have cut you off a long time ago if that was the case.
I know. I'm sorry. Look,
wouldn't have had you on if that was.
I've embraced this. This is just how I work, right? I like solving problems. So yeah, there's the Google Assistant SDK for Home Assistant that you can basically mimic sending a Google Assistant command. So it's great for controlling devices that are not in Home Assistant. You can say, turn this on, turn this off. Well, with Govee, you can create presets. They're called one touches or whatever. And as long as you say, hey, insert, the word, I don't want to set it off, activate, and then the name of it, then it'll turn that on. So then I just emulate that in Home Assistant. So I just send that command, hey, turn this on. And then it switches over. And so then all the devices will switch over when they switch over. So it's not super fast, like happens within 15 seconds or so, but it's still.
I wish you could make presets for Govee inside of Home Assistant. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Or even most lights, like there just isn't the ability to import scenes in except for two.
No,
Well-
yeah, you have to have full control over them. But check out the Govee 2 MQTT integration.
I just downloaded that after I talked to.
It'll expose segments, so you could it's not fast, but you could actually create custom presets by turning a segment a certain color.
The good news is you have Matthew's phone number and email now, so you get to tell him all of your feedback about Govee.
Yes, that's
He's-
true. Yeah.
The day before I left, he like came up to me. He's like, I have a list of like things that we can make improvements on, and but yours is the longest. I said, well, I talked with you at dinner for a good hour.
He hasn't seen my list yet. I've
I'm
got
sure
a
they're
list.
pretty. It's a lot of the similar ones.
Yes, power
They
management.
seem very
Oh
open
my
to the
God.
feedback, though, so that's
Just-
good.
Give me a DC power supply. I'm getting ready to make my own. I'm so sick of it for my outdoor lights. I have to have three of these boxes for all the AC plugs. I'm like, just give me a DC power distribution.
What I have on the outside of the house, those electrical boxes, the fiberglass ones, and just shoved it with all this crap inside of it.
Ironically, that's like the one area where my wife is like, yeah, you should do fun lighting stuff. And I'm just the Scrooge
into
over here. And I don't have
Well, I
any
think we should come over
lighting
to Brandon's
outside.
house next.
So Ryan, check out our podcast we did on holiday lighting. I interviewed my buddy Mike, who has an exceptionally impressive light show. So I might get you some
He's
I would
using
love
X lights, right?
or X lights. Yeah, that's what he uses.
Yeah, I would love to with the guy. There's some I forgot where he's at. I think he's around Vegas or Nevada. That always does these massive shows and like he well produced. This year had pyrotechnics in it. I was like, because I think he like. Then I looked him up and like they make those. They make the different lighting packages and products and stuff. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Like, how fun is that? Your whole job, your company makes these products, and every year you get to like make the over the top version of it for your house, just so that we can. It just continues to build stuff. So
What I want him to do, what I think next step is, I need him to get some inflatables, but like they're not like always inflated. Like part of the show, they like blow up and then they like
It's like the grand finale. They just pop up.
Exactly. I saw one house that had drones. They sent up like the drones with the lights to like create, Santa or whatever. Pretty impressive. So
yeah, I
Ryan,
did see
one
that.
thing-
Yeah, but I think they own a drone show.
yeah. One thing we were looking at on your channel, Ryan, before the show, and we all agreed, is you did this most recently. What is it? This 32-inch tablet screen on your wall in the kitchen, and it looks cool. My question that like my wife would like, that would be such a hard pass you can't even imagine. So
Sounds like
in
it
your
was her
video-
idea.
I
was
know.
her
I was
idea.
saying,
It was.
I was curious if that was actually true or not.
Yeah. So the funny thing is she saw on Instagram and TikTok she sees those full size calendar things. She's like, oh, this would be great. I want can we get one of these? I'm like, I'm not gonna spend that on that. So I literally bought a 12-inch Samsung tablet, set up this custom dashboard. Like literally spent like 2 days designing this custom dashboard. It's like my oldest can come down and he can check off his his items for the summer. I did this, and it kind of disappears. So, it's for me it looks pretty good, but yeah, it's ugly in most senses. But she just would never use it, and I'm like, I did all this work for this, and then I got that brand reached out to me, and so I said, hey, would you want this? She's like, absolutely, I want. Yeah. So I put it up there, and it gets a lot of use. I mean, we were
Big.
the other day. It's big. I mean, it's people complain it's expensive. Yes, I get that. And people could build. Oh, I could build it for $400. Go for it. Whatever.
What brand is the tablet or the screen?
Kozilla.
Okay.
And it's literally just a 32-inch Android tablet. That's why I went with that one. That's why I worked with them, because doesn't run some custom software that is limiting. So it literally runs Home Assistant companion app on it, and I can with the Home Assistant companion app you can control the device. So I can turn the screen on and off. I can change what app is being pulled up. So again, I've got it tied into my. I have a car FP2 sensor. So when you walk into the kitchen, the display comes up and it stays on as long as somebody's standing in the kitchen. As soon as they leave the kitchen, the timeout kicks in, and then if nobody's on the floor, it shuts off the screens. Just stuff like that you can do, which was fun to program in.
Yeah, it looked like pretty neat project. It's just I'm just impressed your wife was on board with that.
She wanted it. That was the one. That was the reason why I even went forward with it, because she actually wanted that giant tablet on the wall for all of our kids' calendars and stuff. So
nice. So do you have any videos?
Problem. So
yeah. Well, if someone new to your channel, what are like your favorite videos or that they should really check out at this Smart House YouTube channel?
Yeah, so I have a lot of like kind of beginner tutorials on getting started with Home Assistant. Like here, my most popular videos were the getting started with a Raspberry Pi, and then I made one last year about doing a thin client because Raspberry Pis were hard to get hold of. And so we, went through and did a bunch of different, like those were the kind of most popular ones. Like my most popular ones for like people actually doing like subscribers is the tutorial ones. Like I did the Govee. The fun one was the Govee, where every time the Chiefs would score, all my Govee lights would go crazy. So I showed how to set that up. Where
I saw that one. Yeah.
So
that's just Taylor Swift's boyfriend's team, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Taylor Swift's boyfriend's team.
Ryan, my question about that though is how fast is that? Because Hubitat had an integration that I was trying to work with, and it was a long delay from when a score happened.
It's within, I'd say, 5 seconds.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because it's using the ESPN API to pull it, so it's being pulled constantly during a game. Literally, it's within the delay of if you're running off of a not TiVo, but DVR, whatever. It's within a couple seconds. If the problem is when we're behind, so if we've paused the game, and then whatever, and then all of a sudden I see out of the corner of my eye the backlight's flashing, like, oh, I guess we scored on this run, like this drive.
All right,
crap.
Well, here's your challenge, Ryan. Can you integrate your TiVo or whatever system you have so that it can tell how long you paused it and then delay the action on the lights to match?
I don't think that information is exposed by HD Home Run. If it could expose how long you've been paused, like that number, yes, you could definitely do it. But I don't think it's that information is exposed by or it doesn't track that.
That'd be impressive. So, you're a Chiefs fan then? You're a sports ball fan?
I'm not I'm a Chiefs fan because I've lived in Kansas City my whole life. So I've been with them. I've watched them. I've gone to the games and frozen to death when we've lost in the first round of the playoffs. So it's nice to be the villains for once. And so every time people crap on the Chiefs, I'm like, we've earned it. We're here for this. So it's nice to actually be.
Okay, earned it. Nobody has earned it more than us. All right, Minnesota fans,
that's true.
Deserve something.
You deserve.
We feel no sympathy for anybody else.
I love the Vikings. I love but hopefully your day will come soon. We never thought we would have a all-star quarterback. We had Joe Montana for a little while. It was like, yay, but it's at the end of his career, so that wasn't much of anything.
It's like Brett Favre for us.
Yeah, we've had lots of those guys. We had Favre, we've had Moon, we've had McMahon, we've had.
So I'm not a huge sports fan, but I did that mostly because it was fun, and like my neighbors now know who I am and they know what I do, so it's less of like. They're like, what the hell is this guy doing? Of course, they've seen when I got my robot mowers. Oh my God. They were like, I literally had people like stop their car, get out and take pictures of it. Like, what is this thing? I'm like, it's a robot mower. I mean, I included in the video some footage of my neighbors just stopping, walking by, kept from my security cameras because they were.
I've literally had that with the snowblower too.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. Yeah,
the Yarbo, that makes sense. I would stop.
I would stop and I would take the Yarbo. To be honest with you, I would steal it.
Every year I've been talking to those guys because every year during CES, Kansas City gets a snowstorm. It happened again this year, and that my wife would have made her life so much better having it go out and automatically snowblow. So
Vince actually has one, so he wins.
So living in Kansas City, Iowa State, I went to Iowa State University. We tend to take over Kansas City during the Big 12 tournament. I didn't know if you are. How close you are to downtown Kansas City, if you ever happen to make it there. But
I know where that is. I know where it is. We go down there. Actually, I'm going to T-Mobile, Sprint Arena now. It's T-Mobile tomorrow to see Jerry Seinfeld.
Really?
So yeah, actually, I work right down there in what's called the West Bottoms, where all of the haunted houses are during Halloween season. So literally from our conference room at work, you can see the edge of hell, which is one of the haunted houses down there, which is abandoned all year round except for during Halloween. So I can see that right out of our window. It's right across the street from us. So, but yeah, so I have to travel through downtown Kansas City every day to and from work, but I live out in the suburbs. So
okay. And why are they ever going to solve the double Kansas City problem? Like,
it's only a problem for you guys. It's not a problem for us. We know when you say Kansas City, you mean Kansas City, and if you say Kansas City, Kansas, or KCK, then you're referring to the other ones.
The more you know.
Yeah, no, and then the politics gets into it too because it's two separate states and two separate. The running joke is every time you have a snow event, people go down State Line Road, which is literally the state line that runs down between Missouri and Kansas, and you can see the Missouri side untouched. It's just ice and whatever. The Kansas side is completely clear. It's dry as a bone, and it's like, yeah, that's the tax revenue
awesome,
difference.
Actually,
Yeah.
So have the schools reopened since I know you had a snowstorm right before you left?
Yeah. They were out for an entire week.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes.
So
they were out.
It's too long to have kids at home.
Yeah. No, my poor. And the worst part was we had a 2-week Christmas break, and my wife's a teacher as well, so she's off. She was off with the kids. Well, then I left a day early to get out before the ice hit, and then she got stuck at home with him for the whole rest of the week. So yeah, that's why I was like, I have to fly back Thursday night, or she's going to kill me.
Well, I'm glad you made it back safe. More importantly, I'm glad they're back in school because, like Vince said, that is too long for the kids.
It took 3 weeks out of school. I mean, my poor kids were just like, whatever.
Poor kids, poor you.
Right.
I know.
My kids would love it.
My twins are in kindergarten this year, but they're they're nonverbal autistic, so they're all about patterns. And so I was so freaked out that Monday was going to be a terrible day because I put them on the bus every morning, and I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna, they've been in 3 weeks of this, but they were so sick of being home, they ran out to the bus, like, get me out of here, I'm ready to go do something else, I'm so bored. Yeah, so it was.
That's fair.
Yeah, no, Ryan, thank you so much for coming on our show. I hope you had fun. I had fun. You are a very smart guy, and I would definitely want to talk to you offline about some of the things we've talked about, especially regarding networking and things like that, because, man, you're smart. You're smart. So everybody...
this is, when people know football facts, like my brother, we both have kind of like a trivia brain. Like we know, he's great at trivia. Problem is, he knows all of like the songs, music, and sports movement stuff. Like I'm all science and technology, so I'm absolutely worthless at trivia unless it's a science question or something like that. So
you'd be on Jeopardy.
Yes, but only if it's those particular things. Then it's like, who played quarterback? Like, I have no idea. That's not my thing.
My favorite was when it was like the engineers, and then they had all sports questions, and none of them knew it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that'd be.
I think at the end, the guy just gave up.
Sports questions too.
He's like, should we just look at it for fun? They're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, no, that'd be me. So thanks for having me on. I said I love talking about this stuff. That's my passion, is just like solving problems. So when people are like, hey, is this possible? And I'm like, I really am like, yes, it's possible. How deep do you want to go? Because
how much time do you have?
How much? Yes. What's your budget on both time and money? If you want to solve this particular problem.
It is zero. Make it happen now. So Ryan, we will put links to your channel and whatever socials and things you want us to put in the description below. So check it out. He's got, if you're getting a Home Assistant especially, he's got some really good tutorials on that, and just a lot of fun reviews and things like that as well.
Hopefully this year will be more tutorials, less reviews.
Excellent. Yeah. So, and please subscribe to our channel if you would, and because we got a bunch more creators coming on. I think Eric coming on next episode.
We got Eric Wielander. We've got. Well, I don't want to give it all away, but Eric's
pretty
coming
sure
up.
Eric Wielander is our next guest. So he's we're talking about Matter, talking about Apple HomeKit stuff with him. So should be a lot of fun. So thank you, Ryan. Thanks, Vince. Thanks, Brandon, and thank you all for watching. And we will see you all next time.